The case of brothers Lyle and Erik Menendez shocked the world in 1989 when they both confessed to the murder of their own parents, José and Kitty Menendez. More than 30 years later, the case gained new visibility with the release of a series on Netflix, unprecedented revelations, and intense discussions about justice, trauma, and punishment. Here is a complete summary to understand the context and new developments in the case. So, before continuing, take a quick break and check if you are already subscribed to the channel. You don't want to miss any detail of this plot full of mysteries, do you? And take the opportunity to leave your like, that way you help me bring you even more interesting content. Without further ado, let's go to the video. You know those families that seem perfect on the outside, but have many secrets on the inside? It was like that with the Menendez family. The father, José, was a very hardworking man, who came from Cuba and made a lot of money in the United States. He wanted his two sons, Lyle and Erik, to be the best in everything, in school, in sports, in how they behaved. Their mother, Kitty, was always there too, but she had her own problems and sometimes seemed distant. The house was big and beautiful, but things weren't always good inside. The boys felt like they could do no wrong and were always afraid of making their father angry. They had expensive clothes, but did they have a happy life? Imagine that you like to draw, but someone says, no, you have to be the best soccer player in the world. That's pretty much how their father, José, treated his sons. He had very big dreams for them and wanted them to be perfect in everything, no matter what they really wanted. José made sure that the boys went to the best schools, played the most difficult sports, and always demanded the best from them. Sometimes he even made them train in very strange ways, like holding their breath underwater for a long time. This scared the boys and made them very tense. It was as if the father didn't care about what his sons wanted, but only about what he thought was important. The boys were tired, but they couldn't disobey, because José was very strict. Testimony at the trial revealed that the brothers suffered physical, emotional, and sexual abuse for years. José was described as controlling and aggressive, while Kitty, emotionally fragile, allowed the abuse and also had unstable behavior. Both brothers stated that they lived in constant fear and anxiety due to their father's violence. For example, when their older brother, Lyle, started losing his hair as a teenager, their father forced him to wear a wig to hide it. He didn't want anyone to know, because it could tarnish the family's perfect image. Can you imagine how humiliating that was for him? Imagine living in a house where everything is decided by someone else, and you can never say what you feel or think. Their mother, Kitty, and their father, José, controlled everything in their children's lives. From what they ate to who they could call friends, sweets, only if sports allowed it, friendships, only if they didn't get in the way of being the best. The mother, Kitty, also had dreams when she was younger. She wanted to be an actress or work on TV, but she gave them all up to take care of her family. But that made her very sad. She fought a lot with her children, saying very harsh things, like how they were ungrateful or that she never got help from anyone. Sometimes she seemed so frustrated that she would even throw things or scream a lot. The boys, especially Erik, felt small and hopeless in this house full of fights and demands. Now imagine this, all that tense atmosphere, the secrets and the accumulated pressure, one day burst like an overinflated balloon. And that's exactly what happened. The brothers Lyle and Erik, who were already full of resentment, began to realize that they could no longer bear living like that. The fear and anger they felt towards their father, combined with the feeling of abandonment by their mother, made them feel trapped, as if they had nowhere to run. Something very sad and tense happened. José, who always used his power to control the family, had a fight with his sons that made everything spiral out of control. The brothers felt that the situation had reached its limit, and the idea of doing something unthinkable began to arise. On the night of August 20th, 1989, the two brothers decided to do something that would change their lives and those of everyone around them forever. They killed their parents in their home, using guns. It was planned, but it was also full of mixed emotions, fear, anger, and despair. After the brothers committed the crime, they tried to hide what they had done. Lyle and Erik called the police and told a story. They said someone had broken into the house and attacked their parents. To everyone, it seemed like they were shocked and very sad. But here's the problem, things started to not make sense. During the investigation, the police realized that there were no signs of a break-in at the house, and the way the crime had happened seemed too strange to be the work of an outsider. Meanwhile, Lyle and Erik were acting very differently than expected. They spent a lot of their parents' money, buying luxury cars and expensive clothes. They seemed more happy than sad, which made everyone suspicious, but what really brought the truth to light was a therapy session. Erik, who was feeling very guilty, ended up confessing everything to the psychologist. He told how he and Lyle planned and committed the crime. The police investigated the possibility that the crime had been committed for financial gain, since José was considering excluding his children from his will. As a result, the brothers were arrested, and their trial became one of the most famous cases in the United States. This part of the story shows how a family full of secrets and problems can end up exploding in a very sad way. When the trial began, it was as if the whole country was watching a great drama. It was on TV and in the newspapers, and people wanted to know everything about the Menendez brothers' case. In court, Lyle and Erik said something that shocked everyone. They confessed to killing their parents, but they said they did it because they were living in great fear. They claimed that their parents, especially their father, were abusive and had treated them badly for many years. According to them, the crime was committed because they were desperate and felt they needed to protect themselves. But there were two sides to the story. The prosecution, who were prosecuting the brothers, argued that they had done it out of greed, because they wanted the family fortune. They used as evidence the way Lyle and Erik had spent money immediately after the crime. This did not fit with someone who was afraid or remorseful. People were divided. Some believed that the brothers had genuinely suffered and acted out of desperation, while others thought it was just an excuse to escape punishment. After a long trial, the jurors could not reach an agreement. This meant that the case had to be tried again. And in the second trial, the outcome was very different. The first trial in 1993 was widely televised and divided opinion. The defense argued that the brothers acted out of desperation after years of abuse. The prosecution claimed that the crime was motivated by greed. The jury could not reach a unanimous verdict, leading to a mistrial. In the second trial, things changed quite a bit. This time, Lyle and Erik's lawyers were not allowed to talk as much about the abuse they claimed to have suffered. The main focus was on the crime itself. Had the brothers planned to kill their parents, or was it something they did in a moment of desperation? The jurors listened very carefully to both sides. The prosecution argued that Lyle and Erik were lying about the abuse to avoid blame. They showed how the brothers spent millions of dollars after the crime, buying cars, expensive clothes, and even a pizza place. For the prosecution, this was proof that they acted for money, not fear. On the other hand, the defense attorneys continued to say that the brothers only did what they did because they were living in an unbearable situation. They tried to convince the jurors that their fear was real, even if their actions after the crime didn't make much sense. In the end, the jurors reached a verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. This meant that they believed that the brothers had planned the crime. The sentence: life in prison, without the possibility of parole. After being convicted, Lyle and Erik began their lives behind bars. At first, they were sent to different prisons and spent many years without seeing each other. This separation was difficult for both of them, since they had always been very close. Lyle, the older brother, tried to adapt to life in prison. He began helping other inmates, organizing support groups, and even writing letters to families who had lost loved ones. He married a woman named Rebecca in 2003, while in prison. They communicate through letters and visits, but they have never been able to live together. Erik, the youngest, also found a way to keep himself busy. He studied and even started working inside the prison. Like his brother, he got married while he was in prison. In 1999, he got together with Tammy, who wrote a book about their relationship. For many years, the brothers lived apart, but in 2018, they were finally reunited in the same prison. It was an emotional moment for them, who hugged and cried when they were reunited. Since then, they have supported each other through the challenges of life in prison. Even through the years, the story of the Menendez brothers still raises many questions. Some people believe that they were treated unfairly, especially since the trial did not give much weight to the allegations of abuse they made. Others believe that, regardless of what happened in their home, nothing justifies taking the lives of their parents. In addition, the Menendez case has inspired documentaries, TV series, and debates in the media. Many people who had never heard of them ended up learning about their story through these programs. In prison, the brothers continue to live their lives as best they can. They will never leave, but they have tried to find purpose anyway. Their story is complicated, full of difficult moments and tragic decisions, but it still teaches a lot about family, trauma, and justice. the documentary series released by Netflix has reignited interest in the case and brought new perspectives, highlighting the complexity of family relationships and the traumas experienced by the brothers. Many viewers began to question whether the life sentence was fair. By the way, I recommend that you watch the series. It is really good and you get a much deeper immersion into the story. The Menendez brothers now live in a very different reality, behind bars. But what happened to them makes us think about family, justice, and how to deal with what is hidden deep in our hearts. Perhaps this is the great lesson of the story. We need to take care of each other and always seek help when something is not right, because, in the end, dark secrets never lead to a happy ending. That was today's video. If you got this far, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any more content like this. Like it and leave suggestions for new cases to bring to the channel in the comments. Thank you to those who watched and see you next time.